Hi, this is Sam working with Future Me, and I'm happy to have Nicole here with me from Stroud College. I'd like to start by asking you what your job role is and how you support young people.
Okay, so my job title is work placement coach, and I work for South Gloucestershire and Stroud College, and I'm based in the Stroud campus. The main purpose of my role is to support, help and guide all the learners that I look after to find a suitable work placement. So at the beginning of the academic year, before they within the first couple of weeks of them starting, we go in and we do a small presentation and introduce the work placement programme. That programme runs alongside their qualification throughout that academic year. We go into the classroom to begin with, and what we do is we explain what's expected of them, because sometimes students can come in and not be aware that they need to complete those hours. So we tell them a bit about work placements, why work placements is important. When we go in and introduce the programme, we will also try and go back and do one-to-ones with the students, because obviously each student, as you know, Sam, being a student at SGS, that you are required to do something that's relevant to your qualification. So if certain students are doing business studies, they would need to find a work placement relevant to business. Or I predominantly look after a large art cohort within the college, and they would all be expected to find something relevant to art. And obviously each individual student's needs are very different. We do have a duty of care also to students, so we try to make sure you give us plenty of notice, because we do have to go out and do a health and safety assessment prior to them starting also. So then over and above that, I do try and go and visit the students. So wherever possible, I do go and visit them when they're on placement and observe them, see how they're interacting and just seeing how they're getting on their placement as well. So it's quite varied, actually. It's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's good. So what can people do to secure a work placement that's actually relevant to a job that they might want in the future?
Okay, I think the main thing I would always say and stress to students is to start early. Make sure preparation is key for this. So making sure that you prepare for your placement and just get an understanding of what you want to achieve from your placement. So think about the types of companies that you want to apply to, maybe think about the things that you perhaps like to do in the longer term, and then try to research those types of companies rather than just going, oh, I'll go here, there and everywhere. Try and make your search quite specific. But also, we always say try and speak with your tutors, because they might have contacts within certain fields or the fields that you're particularly interested in. So try and kind of, use the people around you wherever possible. So use me, use your tutors, speak with people that you live with and see if they have people that they might know as well. What I do find as well with students and young people at the moment is everything is done via phones, computers. So you might send an email or a message, and then because you don't hear back, you don't actually follow that up. And so I would always say, make sure you are following up anything that you've sent out. So if you've emailed an employer and you don't hear back within a few days, follow that up with a phone call. Better still, try and go in and see them. I always think you can sell yourself better face to face, but anything like that, just try and make sure that you're putting yourself out there and getting in front of people, really.
Yeah, of course. Okay. As you know, some industries are harder to get placements in than others. If someone is struggling to get a week-long placement with a relevant employer, do you have any suggestions or alternative ways they could get on-the-job experience?
It's a tricky one, and we do understand that some industries are particularly difficult to get into. We do get that. So what I try to say to students, if you've got an industry that is particularly difficult, or you're not sure where to go, try to think slightly outside the box. This is what I always say to them. It might be that an art student might not be able to go and work with the actual artist that they're interested in which case, try to think slightly outside the box and think about, well, what could I do? Well, I could go and volunteer within an art centre, or work on an exhibition, or work at art events, that type of thing. Or like for a business student, you may be interested in accountancy, and accountancy firms might not be taking on students, but you could potentially work in a finance or accounts department within another type of company. So it's just trying to think outside the box, really. And it, just because you can't get the specific work placement that you're interested in doesn't mean you can't get a relevant placement. You know, it's just trying to find something that's within your field. You know, I know fashion students struggle sometimes because they can't find something with a fashion label. But, you know, they could go and work at a tailor's or an alteration type company where they could be doing lots of alterations and upcycling garments. It's just they're not necessarily working for a fashion label, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's really good. Yeah, fair play. So some young people might not take work experience seriously. What would you say to them to make them change their mind?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? We always get this, why do I need to do work experience? The whole point of work placements is to make you work ready for when you finish your qualification and when you're ready to leave education, and just giving you the skills and experiences to be able to go on to something different. So the more experience you gain, the more information you can put on your CV, the more attractive your CV would become to employers. And then ultimately, that's going to give you a higher percentage of getting a job at the end of it. Going on a work placement predominantly just builds on your employability skills. You know, it's if you're up against somebody at the end of your course and you've both done the same qualifications, you've got similar part-time jobs, etc., but one of you's done 2 or 3 different work placements, doing lots of building on all your employability skills, you know, your teamwork, your organisation skills, working to deadlines, all of those sorts of things, you are more likely to get that job over the other person. So it's just trying to build on your CV and your experience that will ultimately get you something at the end of it. So, you know, it's just, I think if companies are looking at it, it also just, well, actually, look at it this way, I suppose. You could say that it's also experience for you to know what you do and don't want to do. You might go on a placement and you might think to yourself, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I'd love to work for that type of company in my future career plan. However, on the flip side, it might also do the opposite. It might make you think, no, I definitely can't work for this type of company. So, you know, it's got its pros from your perspective too. It's you trying to assess what you want to do longer term, but also it's giving you that edge over other people.
Okay, sure. Almost gives you like a wider view of what you might want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And but like I say, on the flip side, it might make you think, I definitely don't want to work in that industry or work for that type of business. It gives you a better understanding of working and what it's like to be in the workplace.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Nicole. It's really appreciated.
You're very welcome.
I hope this interview has answered any questions any young people may have about work experience.